Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos.
Because my brain was shot and I was like, this is what I want to talk about, but
I think branding is something that we like sprinkle in little bits here and there, but it is such an important topic because for me, just last week I was talking to a for sale by owner, and they're like, "Oh, I already talked to a, agent." Oh, okay. What's that got to do with anything? When I was with my previous firm, same thing. They're like, "Oh, I already talked to somebody from your office," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's still different, though. Like we
right.
aren't all like I guess we're on the same team, but we're not all on the same team."
Right. It's like we all
So,
wear the same jersey, but we all have a different playbook.
oh, exactly, and that's like the biggest thing that you have to like portray to people is personalities different, how you handle your business, how you structure your business, how you communicate. All of those things can be wildly different from one agent to the next.
Yes. And if you want, sorry, my computer's doing weird things. If you want to work with people you like, then your branding is probably one of the most important things you do so that people know who you are. And so that you're not,
Mm-hmm.
if you're super conservative and you're just not going to mesh with that girl on TikTok who's complaining she didn't get the job at TJ Maxx because of all her facial tattoos, then yeah, like your branding isn't going to reflect the branding she might be attracted to. Although I don't know, she seems
Right.
attracted to TJ Maxx and I've never seen their branding look like that. So, but
That's
yeah, your
funny though,
personal
because seriously, go ahead.
it's okay. We've got to figure out this delay. But your personal brand tells people who you are and kind of what it's like to work with you, what to expect. Like my clients know this is going to be fun and there's going to probably be some jokes and probably a little bit of cursing along the way. And that's okay, but that's who I am.
Your vibe attracts your tribe kind of thing. And I've had only two, I think, transactions where I would say like they were not my people, and they were the hardest transactions I've ever closed. And there's something like we've said this before, you speak to everybody, you speak to nobody. There is enough business in this industry to go around. Find the people that are excited to work with you, that you are excited to work with, because it's just going to be a better transaction for everybody. Nobody wants to stick with, a terrible buyer client and end up they're unhappy and still leave you a bad review at the end, and you pulled your hair out along the way.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot of especially newer agents that are just like, I'll take anything. And I was that agent. I will work with whoever, I'll do whatever, I'll go wherever. And at some point there comes a time where you like, first of all, boundaries, and second of all, you're like, that's just not, I'm not gonna drive an hour and a half to list a $7,000 quarter acre lot of land in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Yep.
Not gonna do it.
Nope. I that's one where I would refer it out and not even take a referral fee because I would feel bad
Mm-hmm.
asking for one. Like, no, we're good. Just take the listing.
You're fine. Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't figured it out today, guys, we are talking about personal branding and how important it is to help launch your business, and so people know who you are and what to expect when they work with you. Brenna, I love your. No, Brenna and I kind of went through our personal branding journey together. We did that
We
challenge
did.
with that networking group, and the first when we had to do that on a timeline, I just threw one together. I was like, at least I'm getting the points. And then as I worked through it, like if you saw what my original one was, ugh, it
It
wasn't
was
bad,
so
but
mine.
it wasn't
Mine was
me.
very Pinterest. Exactly, mine was very mauves and ivy, and you know what I mean, like
Yes.
cream colors and soft letters, and
Yeah,
it was
mine was like,
pretty.
yeah,
It
mine,
was pretty.
it was pretty, but it didn't reflect who I am. So mine originally was like a very soft pink highlighted with um, like a, not a navy, but something along those lines and kind of a seafoam green. And I just remember looking at it and be like, that's not me. And if you see my personal branding now, it's literally neon pink and purple. And lavender is the color that I go to for everything because it's my favorite color. It's got a somewhat Lisa Frank vibe to it, but that's who I am. Someone said that to me the once. They're like, "Do you know your stuff is very Lisa Frank?" And I was like, "There's not literally
Love
not a
that for you.
tiger, right?" I was like, "Okay, thanks." I don't know if you've met me, but that's pretty on brand. Um,
Just
but your
sprinkle
branding
some
needs
cheetah print, some glitter, some of
right.
that holographic paper in there. You be golden.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we're gonna do that because I don't think I'm quite Lisa Frank. But and I remember yours. Is yours like, when we did that challenge? Yours was like a shade of blue, somewhere between like navy and royal and orange. Like orange was your big thing and you really leaned into that. Is yours
hmm
still that? Like I've
hmm
seen your logo, but I
So,
don't think I've seen your branding like a template or anything recently to see if you're still using that.
that was when I moved here to Real. I kind of reworked, I redid my logo into something a little more bold to go along with, again, the Real logo is very structured, very,
Right.
something along those lines. And they then released those brand colors that they're doing. So the teal I've really leaned into, and I love the coral. I am a bright person,
Yeah.
So the soft colors really aren't my thing, but like my signs have the blue on them. I love blue. When I was going through it, blue is a very calm color, right? Yellow and orange is a very bright, fun, aesthetic. So I felt like I was like it's kind of like an instant look, like calm, cool, and collected, and crazy at the same time, right?
Oops. That
Um,
should be the name of the podcast. Calm, cool, collected. Oh, and crazy.
Oh, and crazy. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. I see so many very just black and gold, and they're beautiful, So I don't know. I'm a fun pop of color kind of girl. You can see my wallpaper is white and
Right.
black, which is great and I did that on purpose because if I change anything from orange to teal to yellow to pink, because I have color commitment issues. Just it is what it is. So
Well, and it's funny you say that because like my background is probably about the pink from my original logo and all the walls of my house are this color and recently I've been like, okay, it's time to make this house mine. And this is all going to be coming down probably in the next 6 months and being revamped in here because I'm like it's just not me. But
hmm
I think it's also important to touch on like personal brand is more than your logo and your colors. It's
yes.
conveying who you are and what you're like to work with. So that extends into like everything you post on social media. So, like, my team had a rule we were not allowed to post anything political because that can be very dividing. Political or religious, not allowed. Um, which I'm okay with. I don't, it's not things I would post anyway. Um, but also, like, I think very hard about what I do and don't post.
Some things just aren't worth the argument. You know what I mean? And I know that you have a public profile. I have a public profile, and we do that so we can reach more people that are moving to our area or connect with people outside of our friend group. But when you start posting about touchy subjects, like you said, it's just there is such a thing as bad publicity. You know what I
Right,
mean? It's just one of those things.
right.
And so yeah, I think steering clear of religion and well, so there's something about that too because here in the South, and I love Jesus. It's one of those things. People being confident in themselves, in their faith, in their brand, that's fine.
Right.
Politics is hard because there's a battle, especially in the South. There's like North and South, and then it's divided so many different ways that it has nothing to do with your job, with the job that we're doing as real estate agents. So why get into the middle of it? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's how I feel. I was asked at one listing appointment who it was my first year I think in real estate. It was a election year. They asked who I was going to vote for, and I was
Ugh.
like, I feel like that's none of your business. I did not get
Yeah.
that listing.
And you know what? And that's the thing, like, back to your point earlier of like when you're desperate, you took the $7,000 listing an hour and a half away. Those are things we learn that, like, that's okay. Because if you let that go, that energy will open up for something else. Like, I was working with buyers that we just weren't jiving. They were just, it just wasn't working. And I let them go. And literally a week later, I signed my first contract for over $1 million. And it was like, okay, I let that go. So your brand is who you are and how you express that. And it's in your print stuff, it's in your social media. Um, it's like your reputation. This is, I got this quote, I don't remember where, but it's your reputation's stylish cousin. Um, so what is
That's
going on?
fun. That's
Z-
fun.
Right?
I think that especially there needs to be a, I don't want to say a theme, but when people think of you, you need them to think of real estate. No, when I have that backwards.
Right.
When people think of real estate, they think of you, but when they think of you, they don't think of real estate, right? So,
Right.
like Michael Jordan, you think of Nike, but when you think of Nike, you don't think. No, I did it backwards again. I did it backwards again. When you think of Nike, you think of Michael Jordan, but when you think of Michael Jordan, you don't think of Nike. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he is more than the sneakers. You are more than a for sale sign in somebody's yard. You need to be a well-rounded, personal individual. So, me, I am very proud of my kids. I love my family. You see that a lot in my social media. My animals, you're going to see my dogs and my ponies in there. People will tag me in horse reels and memes and like, but they know that that's something that is important to me. I love coffee. I get screenshots of a new coffee order that people are like, oh, you should try this, or I tried this local coffee shop. You should go here. Those kinds of things that like I'm very known for posting about things like that, and people will send them to me, which I think when you hit that point of people tagging you in random horse reels on Instagram, you're getting somewhere, right? Because
Right.
they're thinking of you and you want them to think of you, and it doesn't have to always be in a real estate frame of mind, because what happens, they're like, oh yeah, Brenna would love this. Oh yeah, Brenna would love this. And then at lunch, at a barbecue with their friends, somebody says, I'm gonna sell my house. They're like, oh my gosh, you need to call Brenna.
Exactly. And I always, and that's what we call that parasocial relationship. They think they know you. They don't have to. You said your kids, like, you don't put everything in. You don't put in when the
Mm-mm.
kids are throwing a fit or when, you're running late to school because someone didn't get up. Like, you put, and you don't put anything out there that makes your family unsafe, but you put
Right.
enough that it creates that parasocial relationship. And I think the best example I can give people of this, as much as I don't like them, is the Kardashians. I know more about a family I don't like than I do about some of my good friends because they are constantly in your face. But they do it
Mm-hmm.
in a way that you don't even realize they're always there. And that's exactly
Mm-hmm.
what you're looking for in your personal branding. But part of that is more than just who you are. It also has to be, I think this is what we said we wanted to record, your unique value proposition. I'm pretty sure
Oh yeah, I
that's
think
what we
that
were
was
talking
something.
about
I
last
think
week.
that's what it was. Yeah. Well, and that has to go back to, you also need to know who you're talking to, right?
Yes.
So, uh, I love anybody that looks like they could be my grandparent. I'm obsessed. Yes, I want to
That
work with
is
the older
very true.
generation, but
That is your favorite client
I
type.
can't always. I have a brand new set of buyer clients flying in on Thursday from Indiana. We had a virtual buyer consultation. I'm already in love with them. I've never met them. I love them. They're almost 80 years old and like getting ready to buy their first house because they built their last one 58 years ago.
Wow, that's
I'm
fun.
just I'm so excited about this. But let's be honest. The people that I talk to on or speak to on social media are moms. They're moms with young kids that are like, "Oh my gosh, like you said, we're late for school. I didn't bring a coffee on the way to drop the kids off this morning. I'm still asleep." quite frankly, because we were running a little bit behind. Why? Because Ellie didn't want to come inside this morning.
Right.
But posting that on your stories, being active in your local moms groups, and that's who I connect with. That's where a lot of my business comes from. Last night, a mom from the school texted me and said, "Hey, we're going to be listing the townhouse, and we need to talk to you about it." And I was like, that's how that works, is because they see me, they know me, they trust me from seeing things that I post about my business and about my life on Facebook, because they're like, yeah, she seems like a stand-up person, she's consistent, I can see that she's working the business, I can see that her listings are selling, I can see that she's a great communicator with her kids at school, all of these things. They already are like, yeah, I think she's the one.
Right.
You know what I mean? It takes the hard work out of prospecting, and I still prospect because listen, it's something that you have to do. But soon I want to be like Karen Newton, and just have people come to me and say, "Hey, I need
Yeah.
you
Yep.
to help me buy a house, to help me sell a house," and just be busy all of the time because I've built such a brand around myself that people don't need to interview 17 other people because they know that they want to work with me. That's what I want.
Exactly. And that's what I think once you understand what your brand is and who you want to serve, you have to identify that value proposition. What is it about you and who you serve that makes you different from the Joe Schmo down the street? So, like, you are incredibly patient and you're incredibly caring. You're the perfect person to work with that retired couple that's relocating. If
I
they
love that you
met
say I'm
some,
patient.
if they, if someone who, like the guy that wears the pinstripe suits and only does the $1 million listings and, like is constantly flying off to different tropical vacations, like that's probably not the person they're going to connect with. So you need to be able to speak to like your skills and your experience and your knowledge and convey it to that audience. Like what aspects of your background or expertise like is going to work with them. So like that couple or like a couple I connected with in a Facebook group this week, there was a girl she's moving from Syracuse. And I was like, "Hey,
Aw.
I did that 9 years ago. This," and she was looking for what areas in North Carolina. And I was like, "This is where I landed. This is why I love it here." That's kind of been one of my values is like I work with recently a lot of people relocating from different areas. And I can
Yep.
talk to because my plan when I first moved here was I literally lived in one, two, three, if not four, three different apartments for my first 3 years here and all in different areas. Like I was in
Mhm.
Fort Mill for a year, I was in Plaza Midwood for a year, I was in South Park for a year because I didn't know the area. So I've spent a lot of time living and hanging out in different neighborhoods. And I still to this day hang out in all different neighborhoods because
Mhm.
now I can speak to that and say, this is what it was like to live on this side of town, or this is what it was like to live over here. And this is why I think this area is similar to home. We just don't have blizzards here. Um, but there's
Big plus.
other things that you can, like you with the kids. One of your value propositions is you understand what it's like juggling kids during a move or, like all of that. That's an important thing. Or like, we're not allowed to talk about school districts, but you can help people send them to the resources to figure out what they want to look at in school districts. Um,
Or
you
proximity to schools. You know what I mean? Like there's things like that that people don't even think about when they're like, "Oh wow, we're on the outskirts of this school district. The bus doesn't come this far. Now I'm going to be driving 18 minutes to sit in the car right behind." So there it goes all kinds of ways. And same thing, I think that who you like connected with as a kid, who your friends were, like what you did, really like it follows you into adulthood, right? I am super close with my grandparents. I loved spending time with my grandparents. Their stories, their everything. I just love it. So, those clients, the ones that kind of get rushed and pushed through things because they're just trying to get them to the closing table, I can take a little bit more, I don't want to say empathy, but like time and care and listening because like I said, like they're buying a house for the first time essentially since they were in their 30s because they
Right.
built their house.
Yeah.
Like how exciting is that? And they have so many stories to share along the way. And listen, they don't like to be rushed. They really don't. They just want to say what they want to say because honestly, some in some instances they're just lonely. They want somebody to talk to.
Yep.
And I am 150% okay and excited to be that person for them. You know what I mean? So I would say they are my favorite clients always. But the families that I can help are great too because like I am them. Like I get it. I know that you have to be back at 3 o'clock to pick up your kids. I
Right.
know that
Because
Saturday or Friday doesn't work because it's a teacher work day. You know what I mean? Like I know that. So I think that really leaning in and not fighting it, you know? I like I said in one of the previous episodes, like if you're during the summer like trying to hide the fact that you have kids in the living room watching Moana for the 17th time eating macaroni and cheese, you can't do that because there's no connection there. People, it's not relatable.
right.
Chances are if you're talking to a family that's trying to buy, her kids are in the background watching Moana too, you know? So you just really need to be comfortable in your own life and what you have to offer because it's confidence, I guess. The more comfortable you are in your skin, in your life, the more that's going to portray out into the world and people are going to be like, "Wow, she's really rocking this mom life." And man, I'm trying, but some days.
Hey, dog moms feel like that too. Don't worry. Dog moms feel like that too. You also, I think, another, like we've touched on how you need to know who you are and who you want to work with. But when you're building your value proposition, you also need to know your market and what part of that market you
Mhm.
want to work. I remember
Mhm.
an age, like when I was a baby agent, another agent who had been in a couple years longer than me was like, your sweet spot needs to be like 350 and under in this county. You know, you'll be fine. Like you can sell. And I was like, that that no, not where I want to be. Like now, am I in that county mostly? Absolutely. But my average price point is like $100,000 over that. And so, or 200
Mhm.
and most recently. So it's like you need to be able to identify like the gaps and stuff in that neighborhood so that you can provide that value and know, okay. And if you are the agent that wants to sell the $100,000 investment flips over and over and over again, and you can turn them and burn them and make, go for it. But you need to know which part of your market you want to be working, and not even just client type, but like house type. Like there was one point
Mhm.
when all I wanted to do was sell lake houses, but I wasn't networking on the lake as much as I used to, so that just wasn't going to come to fruition. But if you
Right.
want to be the person that's selling the turn and burn flips, then you probably need to be hanging out at like investor meetings or Home Depot or things like that. But you need to figure
That's a good
out
one. Home
what
Depot.
right? What's your identity for the product you're selling as well is part of your
Mhm.
value proposition. Um that's not
That's
where
why I hang out at the school so much. Single
right.
family houses in Catawba County.
Exactly, exactly.
No,
Um,
it's true though. And but don't spread yourself so thin as far as so I'm gonna say I have really the last 2 years focused on my area, right? I serviced way wider than I really wanted to in my first few years of real estate. But I will say I do have one client that gosh, it was the second year in real estate that I got the opportunity to sell one of his flip houses. And I have worked with him ever since. He works in Concord, Kannapolis, China Grove, like right there. And I've become very good in that market as well. Like I have
right.
that information because I've been there so much. But now if somebody like would I prospect in Concord? Not necessarily. Not if I had didn't have anything going on here where I am. But don't pick up, you know, market stats for within an hour of you and then be like, "Oh, but this market way over here is like really hot and really good." Like me doing Charlotte market, no way. I don't know
Mm-mm.
anything about like the suburbs of Charlotte or the different condo associations or anything that goes on down there. And so many people will be like, Charlotte's where it's at. That's not my happy place.
No, or
Charlotte's beautiful, but I can't.
right, or like I had buyers close on a house between like Concord and Harris or University and Harrisburg the other day. Great house, phenomenal
Hmm.
price point, but I'm not going to prospect there because it's 45 minutes to an hour each way from me. And I don't want to pick up, like, I was
Yep.
thinking about it this morning. I was like, I'm not sending sold postcards to that area because I don't want to pick up even a listing that far. Like, with traffic in Charlotte, it just,
Hmm.
that's not my bread and butter.
Oh, I said I just talked to a baby agent who her she's in Florida. Her broker in charge told her like not to let this client out of her buyer agency agreement and make them pay like the 3% of whatever house they end up getting. She's only shown them a couple of houses. But here's the thing. They are looking 2 hours away from where she is. And I'm like, ma'am, listen to me when I'm telling you this. Your whole day's gone. You
Yeah,
drive to show them one or two houses. That is at least 4 hours on 95 in Florida. You know what I mean? The chances of it taking 5 hours, 6 hours is not
right.
that. No,
That or
that's
she
your whole
needs
day.
to, what I would advise her is partner with a showing agent there and give that showing agent a nice referral fee at that closing and just be like, hey, I
Mm-hmm.
really need your help, like with showings. That because I had clients
Well,
who they were looking here, they wanted to switch to the Charleston market, and I was like, okay, not a problem, I'll
mm-hmm,
refer you out. And he said, no, we want you. Like we, and I was like,
mm-hmm.
Charleston for reference is like what 3-4 hours from here.
A ways, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, guys, that's really, and he was like, you can learn it, we want you. Then they were moving from New York, they're like, we look at everything online anyway, so we will just, if it's not something we're passionate about, we won't ask you to go do a showing. And they were like, so that's what I was going to do. I found an agent down there that I was like, I will, if you will handle these virtual showings for me, so I don't have to drive down for everyone, I will give you part of this commission at the end. Like, I'll give you a referral fee. Um, Another part of like, if you still don't know what your value proposition is client feedback. Lean on your clients. If you're a baby agent and be like, oh, so I don't have any clients. Okay, hold up. Lean on like your past coworkers, or if you've had volunteer opportunities, ask these people these questions and say, what did you like the most about working with me? What value do you think I brought to the table in that situation? And see what keeps coming up. What is something that people repetitively said about you? Like, oh, she's reliable, or she's very organized, or she had these great ideas that we would have thought of. That's a huge one.
Com- Communication. That's always like we never wondered where we were in the transaction. If we had questions she and didn't know, she would find out, like that kind of thing. And I feel like that is one of the biggest misses I hear in so many real estate transactions. It's just because they're anxious. This is a big transaction. Maybe you know that like everything's fine, like it's smooth, it's going along. We're waiting on underwriting, but let them know that they don't.
Right.
They are just like, oh my gosh, it could be falling apart. Like maybe we're not going to get this house, maybe this isn't happening, maybe the buyers can't get financed, they're going to walk. Like I have the closing that I have today actually, and I've worked with these sellers 3 times now, and she's still, God love her, she is just an anxious little ball every time. And she's like, have you heard back, did you see the termite inspection, is the termite inspection bad? I've
Right.
seen a couple of bugs on the windowsill. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, it's okay, everything's fine.
Yep.
So but yeah, lean into those people. Have ask them. That's actually something that I heard the other day, that somebody has like a, um, I don't want to call it like debriefing, you know what I mean, but like a client exit survey, you know what I mean, like communication, properties that were sent to you, like those kinds of things for them to fill out. And I don't know if that's too much or if that would be
Right.
like super helpful, you
Like,
know?
I have an email that I send after every closing, and I actually have to send a couple today that says, it's cute. It's very me. Like, hey, are we breaking up? Like I'm gonna miss talking to you every day. And then it goes into a thing about if you wouldn't mind taking a minute and leaving me a Google review. And then, but please, if
Mhm.
there is something you didn't like, please reach out and have a conversation so I can improve. Like it very eloquently says that. I don't do like a survey, but I feel like if there was something, I open the door and say, let me learn. Like, please tell me the negatives, if there are any. Hopefully there aren't,
Mhm.
but um,
Yeah, hopefully not. But I mean, you can't fix something if you don't know it was a problem. You know what I mean? So
right,
maybe they're like, I really hated that I got emails set up to be sent to me before 12 in the afternoon. And you had no idea. It was set up to come to them in the morning. And that's just something now that you ask at your buyer consultations. Would you prefer these lists of houses to come to you first thing or in the afternoon?
right,
It can be
right.
really simple things that can make a huge difference to some people.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Because, or some, even the simplest thing is like, do they prefer a phone call or a text? Or some people are like, no, just email me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's very formal. And they're like, no, I
An
just get a lot
email?
of messages for work and your text will get lost. I don't have time for phone calls, but I check my email religiously twice a day. So okay, that makes sense to me. Um,
Mm-hmm. And that is something that I do ask. Like, what is the best communication method for you?
right.
Right? Because you want to make sure that you're communicating at a place that they're paying attention to.
Exactly.
I think we kind of already talked about building an authentic presence online,
Right.
but I see your
Yeah.
Gen example. What is that?
So now that you have like your idea, what's your brand? Who are you? What's your value proposition? Now we need to take that and transition it so people know, right? So we figured out who we are, how we want to present ourselves. So you need to be like build an authentic online presence. And don't like one of my big things was when I came into this industry, I didn't want to wear business casual. I didn't want to be the broker with this headshot with my arms crossed in a blazer, like, you know, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure at some point I will take that photo, but it'll probably be like 1990s J.C. Penney style as a joke. But don't hide who you are. Like I was talking to an agent the other day. She just came over to Real and she's getting new headshots because she's lost probably 100 pounds. She looks phenomenal now. Not that she didn't before, but like she's
Wow.
just completely changed who she is in the last year. And she was asking someone, another agent, she was like, do you think it would be okay to do my photo shoot at a playground? Like with me on the swings and doing fun things? They're like, absolutely. Like, and they used me as an example. Have you seen Alyssa's photos? Like, she's holding balloons. She's doing like the rock star sign. She's spraying bottles of champagne everywhere. Like, be yourself. Now that you've figured out who that is, present it. Your headshots don't have to be boring. Like, even our logo for the podcast, I'm literally spraying a bottle of champagne. Like
Mm-hmm.
sprinkle who you are. Like at one point I had purple hair. Just like now that we know who we are presenting, be authentic with it. Don't feel like you have to hide behind that stuffy, 1990s realtor headshot. Um like I love yours. You have one you're in a blazer and you have your thumbs tucked in it, but you have the
Mm-hmm.
biggest smile on your face. And I'm like, that's Brenna. Like when I think of you, I'm like, because I was there the day that photo was taken, but like that's Brenna to me. Like you just always have that giant
That was
smile,
a
and I
fun
love
day.
it.
That was a fun day. The first so I had the realtor headshot taken when I first got licensed. The team that I was on, they all had pictures done, and I kid you not, it was the black pants and the white shirt and the
Yep.
crossed arms. It's a horrible picture. It's awful. I hated it. And then a local boutique had asked me to model some of their new clothes for them, and so we did. It was like downtown Statesville. Like we were walking across like the cobblestone. Like it was great. I loved it. There was one of me. It was like a longer cardigan. It was just so relaxed, so fun. I loved that picture. And my team leader at the time told me that I shouldn't use it because it wasn't professional. And I was
Like
so sad because I
I know
loved that picture.
I my next set of photos are gonna have Mabel in them because that's who I am. Like
Hmm.
you have to show who you are, and if you are not relaxed and being yourself in those photos, you're not going, and I shouldn't say like, you're not going to attract the people you want to attract because they're going to get the wrong message.
Mhm.
Like even on my business cards,
Unless that
it's a
is you. If
right. And
that's
if that's
you,
you, go for it. Like there are
that's
those
great.
people.
I
But
am the
even
girl next door. I
right?
am. The cardigan, the relaxed, the I've got a picture right now on my Facebook cover. Like I'm in overalls. You know what I mean? Like that's that's who I am. I
Yep.
do love a blazer. I know you don't like the blazer. I love a blazer. But like to say like, oh no, that's not professional, like you're not going to be
Right.
taken seriously. First of all, nobody takes me seriously. Second of all, maybe maybe that's the point,
Right.
because there are people that look at somebody in a posed headshot in a blazer and they're like intimidated. I feel intimidated sometimes. I'm like, oh, there's a gentleman, and you probably know who I'm talking about, in the Charlotte market, that man, he is so cool, but to see him in his pictures, I'm like, he looks scary. I'm scared of
Does it start with a J?
him. Yes.
Well, if you do you know what he used
I
to do
love
for a
him.
living?
He's so no. No,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
he used to work like high-end security for like celebrities and
That makes sense.
government officials from
That
other
makes sense.
countries. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Makes
understand now.
wicked sense.
No, like it's just, it's just one of those things. But for me, for the people that I attract, they are totally cool with some nice dress pants and a cardigan. Or if they know I'm coming from school drop off in my overalls, they are too.
That
But
I
yeah,
know
don't let anybody tell you no. You know what I mean?
right.
If you are comfortable in a blazer, if you are comfortable in a sundress, if you, I mean, I'm not telling you to go dress like a hoochie mama and show houses, but
I
selling
mean, if
sunset
you're in
does
LA
prove
and
that
you're on
that does work.
right, if you're in Los Angeles and you're auditioning for Selling Sunset, then that's probably the way you should dress. But that's not the market we are in or
Hmm.
who we are. And I think that meme, that's funny. Like the first time you meet a new client, you're all dressed up. And by the 15th showing, you're like, oh, I just dragged myself out of bed. I got a cup of coffee and a messy bun. I'm like, that is so true sometimes.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
true.
sometimes it is. Absolutely.
But you also like part of it, like, and we've kind of touched on this, but like when you're online in those groups, pages, your friends' comments, like you have to engage authentically with whatever this, I don't want to say persona, but the version of you that you're presenting to your audience. So, like, I'm very much myself. I'm very much the dog mom. I'm very much the going out and doing things, showcasing my neighborhoods, eating pizza. That's, I feel like, how I present. But you have to, like, in those groups, like someone today in one of the local Belmont groups was like, hey, we're looking for networking. We just moved here. And I was like, hey, come to our Friday thing. Like, so be authentic. Like, I comment a lot in like dog rescue groups, stuff like that. Ninja move for this one, go to their events. Like, I love German cars. I'm in a couple German car clubs. I go to our meetups. I hang out at a brewery on a Saturday or a Sunday with them, have a couple beers, and I've gotten listings out of it. So, like, but you have to be like, if I tried to go to like a Corvette owners group, it wouldn't work because I don't like them. Like they're or Mustangs, like they're just
Hmm.
not my jam. But I like old German cars. So, um,
Hmm.
network with those people like you do. You're in the PTA, you do all those things. Like that's your audience, that's who you are. A big one to me though is like comment genuinely on your friend's stuff. If if they have like my friend Yuli, her birthday was over the weekend. She's 40 now. We've known each other for forever because she crazy. She was one of my mom's students. My mom taught high school, and we just became friends through that. She actually bought my first car off of me. She lives in Florida now. Husband threw her a surprise 40th, and one of her friends from high school flew down. And I commented on one of the photos instead of just a happy birthday. It was the two of them, and I was like, "Oh my god, this brings me back to high school, like at our like dances in the gym." Because it was the two of them, and that's what it looked like they were posing in front of the photo. And I was like,
Mm.
and by the way, happy birthday. But it was genuine. That's actually how I felt in that moment. Um,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Or
People
like
can tell when
everyone,
you're just scrolling and saying like happy birthday, you
right,
know?
right. Or like, everyone, when they announced the Wegmans coming to Charlotte, my phone blew up that day because everyone knows I'm obsessed. And like, so
Mhm.
I started like making, I've always engaged in the Wegmans groups, and someone even in one of the groups commented, like, hey, this girl pointed it out like 6 months ago and said they'd be here in 2026, and y'all dogged on her and said she didn't know anything. Well, I guess she proved you right. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
well, thank you. But you have to, like, the group, be authentic in those groups and then be consistent. No matter what you do, be consistent, because everything we do now produces 90 days down the road. So if you take a break, you're going to have a break
Yep.
in business 90 days down the road. Just be consistent. Like, if you need to, set up systems so that you're not forgetting to do things. Make a daily checklist so you know what you're doing. That might make it feel a little less genuine, but once you get into that flow and that rhythm, it will feel natural. But be consistent.
Mhm. Yep. And like don't be afraid to put your logo on things too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And don't like, gosh, don't do like I know Halloween's a long ways away, but like Halloween goodie bags out for the kids with your business card in them. Please don't do that.
Right. Or like
Please don't
I
do that.
did a couple Halloweens ago, I did a trunk or treat. Candy for the kids, nothing about me on it. I did, though, give every
Mhm.
parent a glow stick with a card that had tips for being safe during trick or treating. And it did have my logo, like, provided by. But if it's for the kids, absolutely, they just got candy. They didn't need to know. The adults got the glow stick with the safety thing on
Mhm.
it. Like, here's some tips to be safe on Halloween this year. And they
That's
loved
awesome.
it. But there's a
That's awesome.
difference. Yeah.
Next weekend is my mommy and me photo shoot. This is the second one that I've done, and we upped it. Last year we had 8 moms that we did. Well, we scheduled 10, but two weren't able to come. So, but we doubled it this year, so we're doing 20, and all
Wow.
of the slots are full. And last year it was so simple. I went and got roses, you know what I mean, and printed out a card that said like you're not a regular mom, you're a cool mom on it, and that had my logo. But like that's it, here you go. Happy Mother's Day. Here's a
Right.
picture of your kid. And I'm thinking like this year maybe I'll like print out one of each of their photos and then mail, because I collected addresses this year as well, and mail it to them,
Yep.
so they'll actually get it for Mother's Day and say whatever, Happy Mother's Day. But things like that, like, but don't just like, oh yeah, I'll like sponsor the kids softball team and I'm gonna bring in all this stuff that has my logo all over it. Just nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody
Like,
cares. And they hate it.
right.
They
We're
do. They do hate
we
it.
did the community yard sale last weekend. And so all of the marketing had us on it, said we were coordinating it. We put a yard card out front like we do for everything in the neighborhood. We always have a yard card. And then we made baggies that had a reusable washcloth with a strawberry pattern and just a couple of those like old lady
Oh, I love that.
strawberry candies.
Mhm.
Um, and the card just said, thank you very much for participating. Neighbors like you make our community a better place to live. And then it just had our information on the bottom. And we just went around like in the golf cart
Yep.
and took 2 seconds and said thank you. And people were like, oh my God, like this is awesome. Here's some ideas for other things. Like, but we weren't smearing it on everything. Like, we're doing teacher
Mhm.
appreciation lunches next, or breakfasts next week, because we do their teacher of the month every month. So we're in front of them. And they wanted to just do um, bagels and just drop them off and go. And I was like, hell
Yep.
no. And it was the same thing with the yard sale, that they wanted to just pass out donuts. And I was like, but that doesn't put us in front of them. That doesn't give them something of value. So for the teachers, like,
Mhm.
yes, we're bringing in bagels and doing breakfast, but we're putting together a little baggie that has like one of those paper face masks in it, like the moisturizing ones, a lip balm, and I think a hand cream. And then it's going to have a little tag on it that says something about, like, thank you so much for taking care of everyone else during the year. Here's something to take care of you.
Oh.
Like,
Yep.
just
That's awesome.
something. But we're consistent. We're with those teachers every month during the school year. We do the newsletter every month in that neighborhood. And now we do the yard sale every year. The one group of ladies were like, can you do a chili cook off? And we were like, sure, that's cheap and easy to sponsor. Like, we can do that. Um, But yeah,
That'd be cool too.
right? Like, but you have to be selective. Like stuff for the kids, I think it depends on what it is, but like Halloween candy, don't make
Mhm.
labels and stick it to the candy bar. No one's gonna care and it's gonna turn people
Mhm.
off.
Yeah, because I think parents are gonna know that it's like it's marketing through the kids to the
Right.
parents. Like if you're gonna market, like do what you did. Here's my thing. Thank you for participating. It's got like my name and logo on it, you
Yep.
know. But to send kids home with stuff that they're like, oh look what I got from this cool real estate agent, and her name's all over it. I don't know. I was like,
Yeah, I just don't like it. Like
I wouldn't do that.
I just don't. So, but oh, there was something else I was
I
gonna
think
say.
that's really it, isn't it?
Yeah, I had something else, but I don't
Be
remember.
consistent, be authentic. We need to come up with an acronym. Be consistent, be authentic. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll think about it. We'll think about it. But that is what we think your personal branding needs to be. You have to have your value proposition. You need to know who you are. You need to know who you want to connect with. And then you need to be engaging and
Mhm.
consistent. So I think that's it. We will see you guys next
Wow, you
week.
just summarized that so
Boom, boom,
nicely.
boom, boom.
You summarized
Bullets.
that so nicely. It was just like bullet points. We could have started with that and
Right?
then just like wrap this up 3 minutes into it.
And that's it.
Oh well. On in that news, right? We will see you next week. We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.